Hi, I am Jennifer Walker Gates with Walker Gates Vela, immigration attorneys in Austin, Texas. I'm here today with my law partner, Chito Vela. Hey,
Hello.
Chito. We're here in this video. We're going to be talking about what happens after an arrest in this here in Central Texas, in particular. What happens after an arrest for a person who is an immigrant and gets an ICE hold? So, Chito, first of all, before we get into the specifics, will you tell us, like, why is it important for people to know what will happen, if they are an immigrant and they get arrested?
Um, so when you have in a normal kind of situation, you're arrested, you pay your bond, or you get a personal bond, and you're released, and you walk out the jail, and you go home. When you have an ICE hold, that means that immigration is getting involved in your case. That means that that's essentially the beginning of the deportation process, and before you do anything else, you need to understand what that means. You need to understand how what your options are. You need to understand what the next steps are. You need to understand what's going on before posting bond. Before kind of getting into immigration detention and immigration custody.
Yeah. So walk us through, like, what happens, after an arrest, say for like DWI in Travis County for a person who is a non-citizen. What happens?
So what happens again? DWI is probably one of the most common offenses. You're out on a Saturday night. You're stopped by the police. You've had some drinks. Officer smells alcohol in your breath. He does a field sobriety test, or whatever a criminal investigation they're going to do. And they decide to arrest you. So they arrest you. They take you down to the Travis County Jail. You're in jail, and then the officers tell you that you have an ICE hold. So what does that mean? That means that once you post bond, you are going to be detained by immigration. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to deport you right away. There are a lot of different things that could happen, once you're detained by immigration. But you need to understand that. You need to understand what your options are. So the first thing that when that happens, and you've talked to your family, we can handle both the criminal case and the immigration case, but we will go and visit the client in jail, talk to them, and do we call a jail interview, where I take their criminal history, I take their immigration history, I take their family history, and I evaluate everything, and I look at what their options are. Sometimes there are no options. Sometimes someone has such a bad criminal history that I'm just like, man, there's just nothing to do for you. I'm sorry, but you're likely going to be deported, and there's not really any real defense to that. But a lot of times there are options, and so what I will do is I'll go and to the jail, myself or one of the other attorneys here, all very experienced attorneys, will go to the jail. We'll interview the client. We'll inform them of how we see the case. We'll explain their options. We'll explain, the costs involved, not just our costs, but also the bond amounts that they're probably going to need to pay for immigration to get out with an immigration bond. And then I'll call the family afterwards, the mother, the sister, the wife who hired us, and I'll explain that same thing to them. And then we can talk, and we can make an informed decision, understanding the consequences, prepared for the next steps, to achieve the best outcome for the client, whether that be continuing to fight the immigration case, or maybe in other situations to just take the deportation and forget about it.
And so after, let's say someone decides that they're going to pay the bond, and then on the criminal side, and they get released from criminal custody, and then they go into ICE custody. Mm-hmm. How long does it take typically before they can get a bond from ICE and get out of ICE custody, if they're able to get one?
So it's going to take some time. Right now, I would say that it's going to take about 20 to 30 days to get a bond hearing before an immigration judge. So let me explain the process real quick when, after the ICE hold, basically. So you're arrested for a DWI, you're going to quickly get a criminal bond set. And then you can pay that criminal bond and be released from jail. But then immigration is going to pick you up. Immigration is going to pick you up. They're going to take you to their downtown processing center here in Austin. It's on 8th in San Jacinto. And they're going to interview you. They're going to take your photo. They're going to take your fingerprints. And eventually they're going to put you on a bus. And they're going to send you down to an immigration detention center in Pearsall, Texas. Inside the immigration detention center, there are 4 courtrooms with 4 different judges, where you will have the opportunity to have a hearing before one of those judges. And when you hire us for a bond hearing, for example, after an arrest and an ICE hold, and then when you're in immigration custody, we're going to prepare a packet to submit to the immigration court, and that's going to have your children's birth certificates, your identification documents, your proof of residence, those kinds of things like that. And then we're going to explain to the judge why you should be granted a bond. If the judge grants you a bond, your family can pay the bond, and then you're released. And then you're going to have 2 cases pending. You're going to have the criminal case pending, and you're going to have the immigration case pending. But you're going to be out. You're going to be back with your family. You're going to be free, and then we'll help you take it from there.
Right. So, what should people do as a first step if there is? Well, first of all, please don't drink and drive. That is something that we see a lot of this time of year. It is easy to forget, but it's really, really important. Do not drink and drive at all, especially if you are undocumented or if you have, you don't have immigration status. Drinking and driving is one of the most dangerous things you can do for your status here in the United States. However, if there is an arrest, if there is an emergency, a detention, what do you think is the most important first step for people to take?
So the first thing I would say is don't panic. People get into a panic right away, and they're like, get him out, get him out, get him out. I need to have him out now. And of course, the person is also like, get me out, get me out, get me out. I understand that. I get it. But instead of just, panicking and paying the bond, we need to be able to go to the jail, sit down with the client, and figure out what needs to happen. Like I said, a lot of times we shouldn't pay the bond. It's better to actually close the case. It might be better to just, plead guilty, take your, 20-day sentence or 10-day sentence or whatever, as short as possible as we can get it, and then go to immigration and then be deported. Sometimes your criminal history is that bad, or sometimes, you're just not going to be able to get a bond or to be able to have any success in immigration court. And the best thing to do is to just, close everything up. If someone is going to have to take a deportation, then we want you to go clean. I don't want you to go with your case open. I don't want you to go with all these things pending and all these kind of problems hanging around. Let's get everything wrapped up. Let's get everything taken care of. And then when you're deported to Mexico or to Honduras or to Ireland or wherever, you're going with all legal matters closed. So that the most important thing, I think, is just to take a deep breath, take a little bit of time, and hire an immigration attorney that can explain to you your situation, can explain to you potential consequences, can explain to you what the next steps are, what your chances are, and how much everything is going to cost, how much they think the bond is going to be. So we will go down to the jail, do the jail interview, explain that to you, explain that to your family, and then we can all sit down, talk about it, and make whatever decision is best for the client, for their family, for everyone.
Great. So you heard it from Chito. Do not panic. Call us. We have an emergency line that we will post with this video that is answered on weekends and evenings, so that if there is an emergency, you will be able to get in touch with one of us as quickly as possible so that we can help you resolve the situation. Thank you, Chito, so much for your wise counsel. And I will look forward to catching up with you again very soon.
Bye.